Ukraine Russia war 5 consequences that can end the earth. It can be difficult to see the way forward in the shadows of a war and the smoke of fire and ammunition. News from the battlefield, diplomatic efforts, the feelings of the bereft and the homeless, all of this can be very stressful. So let's take a moment of consider how the war in Ukraine could end and what are some of possible scenarios that politicians and military planners are examining. Very few people can predict the future with confidence, but here are some possible results, but most of them are dark or water. Russia Ukraine conflict, what effect could this war have on your life? Short-term war. Under the first possible scenario, Russia increased its military operations. Indiscriminate shelling and rocket attacks are taking place across Ukraine. The Russian Air Force, which has played a major role so far, launches devastating air strikes. Large-scale cyber attacks begins in Ukraine, targeting key national infrastructures. Electricity and communication systems across the country are cut off. Thousands of Ukrainians are killed. Despite fierce and enduring resistance, the Kyiv is captured in a matter of days. The Ukraine government is replaced by a pro-Moscow puppet government. Ukraine President Zelensky is either assassinated or run away from western Ukraine or the country to from a government in exile. President Putin declares victory and withdraws some troops from Ukraine but allows enough troops to remain in control of the country. Thousands of Ukrainian refugees continue to migrate west. Ukraine, like Belarus, is considered a subsidiary of Moscow. This result is by no means impossible, but it will depend on a number of changing factors such as the performance of Russian forces, the deployment of more troops, and the end of Ukraine's extraordinary fighting spirit. President Putin may seek a change of government in Kyiv and to Ukraine's Western integration, but any pro-Russian government would be considered illegitimate and the country would remain in turmoil, such as outcome would be unstable and conflicts would be more likely to erupt again. Long war. Otherwise, it's more likely to take the form of a protracted war. Russian troops may be weakened, their moral, poor logistic, and incompetent leadership will stand in their way. It may it may take longer to Russian forces to secure cities like Kiev. Defenders that guerrilla warfare with civilization forces are fighting in the streets. In that case, the city will be under siege for a long time. The fighting will repeat the history of Russia's long and British attempt to seize destroy the Chekhov's capital Kromsky in the 1990 centuries, and even if Russian forces retain some control over Ukraine cities they may still be struggling to maintain control there. Russia is may not be able to provide enough troops to cover such a vast country. It is possible to that Ukraine army with the support of the locals will encourage them to carry out a effective resistance and insurgency, and that the visit will continue to provide them with arms and ammunition, and then many years later with new leadership in Moscow, Russian forces will finally be defeated and blooded by the withdrawal from Ukraine, just as its predecessors Afghanistan in 1989. After a decade of fighting of Afghan militants, European war. It is also possible that the war could spread beyond Ukraine borders and that President Putin could send troops to the former Soviet republics of the Moldova and Georgia to try to regain more parts of the former Russian Empire, which is not part of NATO or of just militations can exacerbate the war. President Putin could call Western arms supplies the Ukraine forces aggressive and retaliate